Well, in the wake of its invasion of Ukraine, Russia is facing unprecedented sanctions at the moment, sanctions that have been imposed on it by the United States and the European Union, among others. Joining us exclusively on NDTV today is Ambassador Ugo Astuto, the European Union's envoy to India. Ambassador, thank you very much for speaking to us today. May I ask you first, what are, in your view, the impact of these sanctions announced so far actually going to be on the ground? There is, of course, the cutting off Russia's key banks from the central banking system, the SWIFT banking system. Airspace has been closed over the EU for Russian planes, etc. But on the ground, how much do you think that this would work against Russia?
Thank you. Well, this package of sanctions is massive. It is somewhat unprecedented. It's meant to have a severe impact on India, on the economy of Russia, and it is meant to affect severely those responsible for this unprovoked and unjustified attack. You may have heard a third package of sanctions has been approved yesterday night, including 500 million euros in arms, lethal and non-lethal weapons. And let me underscore here, as it is a first, the European Union had never done it. It's a measure which reflects the gravity of the situation, the seriousness of the attack. It's an aggression against Ukraine. It's also a blatant violation of the UN Charter. I think it's important to underscore here that we have an unprovoked and an unjustified aggression from Russia, and it cannot go unanswered.
Ambassador, there are, however, some conflicting views on how much Russia would actually be crippled by these sanctions. Russia says it has billions, hundreds of billions of dollars in forex reserves. At the same time, experts point out that Russia's economy is not in the poor state that it was in when it annexed Crimea all those years ago. Therefore, how would you look at these comments that perhaps Russia might be able to withstand these sanctions at the end of the day?
Well, when it comes to the foreign reserves of the Russian central bank, you will have noted that actually parts of the sanctions which are foreseen are also meant precisely to make it impossible the use of these reserves. I definitely believe that the package of sanctions is such that its effect will not go unnoticed. I think the impact will be severe.
Right. Can I ask you then, Ambassador, as you said, the European Union is in fact now even going to help finance giving weapons to Ukraine, which is unprecedented. What next can we expect in terms of further sanctions against Russia? Is there scope to do more?
Well, you will have seen that these successive packages of sanctions have been following developments on the ground. The severity of the aggression has been matched by the gravity of the sanctions. I think there may be scope for more. It all depends on how the situation evolves. You have also heard about a number of European Union member states closing their airspace to Russian aircrafts. There is something that now the European Union is also willing to further expand to a new wide prohibition.
But can you give us an example of what that could possibly be? What more in terms of sanctions?
No, I think we'll wait and see. What I would like to underscore here is the extreme how reactive European institutions and European member states have been, how fast the reaction has come. What I can tell you is that if the same level of aggression continues, we will react with equal rapidity and efficiency.
Ambassador, you would have seen that India is sort of walking a fine diplomatic tightrope when it comes to this matter, given its relations with Russia on one hand and now with the United States and other European countries on the other hand. How do you view India's position on this? It has abstained again on the calling of an emergency session of the UN General Assembly?
Well, what I can tell you is that we keep discussing the situation with our friends and partners, with the Indian authorities. We keep them appraised of our assessment and of our perspective. We believe that we are facing a defining moment in the history of Europe. And this is a moment whose consequences may well go beyond the current geographical scope, in the sense that violations of the UN Charter, violations of international law, efforts to disrupt permanently the rules-based system of international governance, well, all these risks setting a precedent which is extremely risky for the whole of the international community. So what we are trying to do is to foster a unified response of the international community, and conversations are now ongoing in New York for a resolution to be tabled at the UN General Assembly.
So given what you've just said, do you think that India needs to be more categorical in its condemnation of the Russian invasion? Do you think India would have to take a firmer stand?
No, I will simply repeat what I said earlier. I think it's important that the international community assesses the situation for its actual gravity. We clearly see a violation of the UN Charter. And the UN Secretary General said so a couple of days ago.
But do you think, as the world's largest democracy, that a special responsibility falls on India to take a position?
Again, I would say that the rules-based system of international governance is a global common good, and we all need to work together to preserve it.
Well, Ambassador, that is why you are a good diplomat. Thank you very much for joining us on NDTV today. Thank you very much.